Through the mid to late 90s, a dance music, rave party, and DJ following exploded on the music scene that was referred to as Clubland in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. This soon spread across Canada. The passion was evident, and the energy was on high. A journal photo scroll pre-Instagram reporting and review came from a glossy-covered, black and white printed magazine that was free to all and sourced via retail outlets. Either upon entrance or exit, you'd see Tribe magazine. The content was followed and viewed by the thousands. As the internet became the new darling of chronicling, a .ca was upped, and a message board that still exists to this day was loved, used, promoted upon, and much more. If you clubbed, raved, or wanted to know which mixtape was being passed around the most, then you were eyeballs deep into our guest creation that fueled Canada's dance floors as much as the music and the people did. Please welcome to the utility room, Alex D.
Jello, how are you doing?
Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks
Thank
for doing
you.
this.
Thank you for having me, Jello.
What an incredible time this is that we're in now.
I know.
What has the pandemic been for you?
It's been a lot of soul searching for me. I've been basically by myself in my house here, locked away, making products. I just sort of launched a new direction for Tribe just before the pandemic hit, and I was making products and doing all the work and everything. And then the pandemic hit, so I thought, what am I going to do? And I just doubled down on my design work and got deeply into design, designing new products for Tribe for our new direction. But it's been also a lot of personal growth too. It's just, I know everybody's going through waves of shit, the ups and the downs of this, feeling amazing. And then just it's going on forever, and when will it ever end kind of stuff. And all our past, all our getting together in rooms and groups with people, all that's gone now, right? So it's like, it's been very unsettling for me. But I've got into the work, and that's kept me sane. And of course, the weed's helped.
What is happening with you in cannabis?
This is interesting. When I started Tribe, I was the only sober person in the rooms. I didn't drink. I didn't do any drugs. I didn't smoke any weed. I didn't do any E. I didn't do any acid. I didn't do any mushrooms. I didn't do anything for the whole duration of the print version of Tribe. And the last time I actually did cannabis was probably in 1979 or something. I stopped cannabis. I just didn't interest me. And then when we were about to legalize cannabis, when Canada, was decided to legalize cannabis, I thought, there might be a business opportunity here. And I'd been sitting on the brand Tribe for since I started it. And I thought, this brand, there's a cannabis element to this brand. It's like it's involved in the music a lot, and it's involved in the culture a lot. And when I was DJing in the past, I used cannabis a fair amount too. And so I thought, okay, let's do something with the brand. And then so I thought, okay, I did some soul searching, looked at the cannabis industry, saw what wasn't there, and there was no high end. There was absolutely no high end. There's in everything, in cars, you have high end cars, right? You have Porsches and Rolls Royces. In airplanes, you have high-end airplanes. And in jewelry, you have Cartier and Boucheron and companies like this. But in the cannabis sector, there was no high-end. So I thought, aha, here we go. We're going to make a high-end luxury cannabis accessory brand. And I'm going to make it all in Canada. I'm going to use Canadian materials. I'm going to make the Cartier of cannabis accessories. Super, super high end, because there isn't any. I mean, for the people that want that, it doesn't exist. So that's what Tribe is about now. So.
What was the reference point for this? You didn't have or maybe you did. I'm not sure.
Oh, yes.
Was there a mentor for this type of this direction that you were going in? How did you how do you know how to make like jewelry or accessories that are made out of silver or a steel or gold?
Um, when I was a kid, I guess this is really weird, Jello, about life. I'm old now, right? I'm in my just over 60 now. So,
Is that considered old?
well, yeah, I mean,
As far as
considering the
Liam
amount of-
Neeson years are concerned, you're about to make Taken.
but the sheer amount of shit I've done in my life. That's what I mean. It's like I've done a lot of stuff, right? And I'm feeling it. So I guess when I was younger in elementary school, I was a mess of a kid. I was like, I don't know, I might have been on what they call a spectrum, I suppose, nowadays, right? But back then that didn't exist. So I was a bit of a wild card. And this one teacher, I remember in 5th grade, came into class and he brought in this kiln, like a oven thing. And he got us making jewelry and heating shit up in this oven and design and this really interests me. And over the course of my life, I've dabbled in it. I've always bought nice things for myself if I could afford it. If I've always made something, if something that I bought didn't feel right for me, I modified it to suit myself. I've always done this kind of stuff in my life, and so that's where it came from. And the idea of design, it's like I assembled a team of people. I mean, it's like you just said to me, it's like you're podcasting now. You didn't know anything about podcasting. You're doing it. You've built by doing it, you've done it, and you're building a team around you to help you do this and stuff. So that's what I did with Tribe in the precious metals area. I pulled together a team of the top Canadian gem setters, precious metal casters, polishers, all the best guys in the country. And they're working as a team to produce the products that we're making. And these are guys who immigrated to Canada, a lot of them, from parts of the world that these are the finest craftsmen in their own countries who left there for politics or whatever to come here for a better life, and they're finding now that their work has been outsourced to China. So it's like they're looking for work, and I'm thinking, this is all perfect, right? We've got top quality, skilled, world-class jewelers in the country who need work. We've got a hole in the cannabis sector. There's no high end. And then boom, the light went off. It's like, okay. And Tribe has this edginess. The brand we have, since 1993, we've been in rooms with fucking ravers and hip hop guys and like MCs. We've got street cred, right? It's like, oh, this is perfect. So I thought, okay, this is where I'm going to take the brand. I took it into the music sector, and now I'm taking it to the next level. And so here we are. And I'm having so much fun. It's like, it's fun.
You've got a glow in your eye when you said that.
Man.
Can you talk to us about the first vampire bite of music, specifically dance music?
Okay.
Because I refer to it like that lovingly. Obviously, I know maybe it sounds a little spooky, but maybe it is spooky. Is it strange to know that something bit you so long ago and it's still with you now?
No, I guess I started DJing in 78, maybe 1978. And my DJ career lasted, I guess, till probably 86, 85 or 86. So it was the period in music that was transitioning from disco into house. But there were also new types of production taking hold, digital music production, the 808s and the sounds coming out of the UK, the Cure, that kind of sound, the edgier sound.
Synth poppy
stuff,
okay,
right? But at the same time, there was also black R&B, soulful stuff.
Sure.
So in our record box, we would play everything, right? We would play.
You don't mean the app.
No. Literally boxes
no,
full of records, right?
My big moment right there.
And we would play everything. And the set where I played on the East Coast, at the peak of my DJ career, I was basically in a club that sort of, say, the RPM or the government of the town that I was in, right? And it was the peak of my DJ career, and this was maybe 1984, 85-ish, something like that. And the music was really interesting, right? It was really interesting. So that's when I was playing, and I'd go into work, and we'd play 8-hour sets. We'd go, play from when the doors opened.
DJ all night.
All night.
Right.
And then we'd go to after parties after, and or I'd play after, or you'd be wound up. You know what it's like after you've DJ'd all night. You're fucking wound right up. You're like, okay, you're like, what's next? Okay, or where are we going now? Right? It's like, so I did that for a while. So that's where the music, that's where my familiarity with DJs comes from. It's like, because I'm a DJ too, right?
Of course, but is it not something magical that when this first happened, this music moment for you,
yes,
that it stayed with you through generations and all the twists and turns of your life, and here we are today. We're talking about those twists and turns. I mean, and the events escalated, right, and transformed. I mean, you may have started a DJ, but this isn't how, and where you landed, for example, today, or even in the mid '90s.
Yes.
Once Tribe really started getting printed and circulated. So I want to get into that with you. So I guess we're talking about what you were doing before you started doing Tribe, but how long did it take for you to put together each issue?
Huh.
Is that a good question?
No, that's a good question, but it took me a month.
We're talking 10-hour days, or?
No, but it took a month to put together an issue because they came out each month, right? They're 10 times a year.
Right, but
so to get everything together,
with
magazine production, how it works, even with other serious magazines like I don't know, whatever, Cosmopolitan, for example. How magazines work is they're deadline driven. You have a deadline, the press is waiting, that's the deadline, and it's usually a month before the deadline where everything has to come together, but everything doesn't come together till the last fucking few hours. This is how it always works.
Were you ever stuck in a spot of where you felt that an issue was incomplete and that you had to like throw something, be like, here's just some fucking random graphic, and
oh yeah,
or a photo, for example.
Yeah, always.
To fill up the space.
Always, and every magazine does this. Every magazine.
What was it that caused the fail? That you needed the space? Was it
could
something
be
didn't turn up, or
it could be different things. A column didn't come in, or an ad didn't come in, or something just didn't show up in time to make the deadline. So then you just have to fill the space, and then. But the software at the time everything was clunky. Well, how did you learn how to do this? Start the magazine. It's like, when I was in university, the school newspaper at my university, I walked in there with my camera and I said, "Are you looking for a photographer?" Right? And they said, "Sure." And I thought, "Fuck, this is great. I'm working in journalism," right? I was like some dude with a camera taking pictures. So I'd taking pictures of the different live events, and I'd for the school newspaper. So I watched how they put together this school newspaper. It was done basically with what is called flats. They're big flat pieces of paper, and you get rubber cement and glue, and you glue shit on this, and you create your pages by gluing other papers onto it. That's photographed, and then plates are made from this. Plates are made, and then that goes on the press. And so that the first issues of Tribe were made like that, with scissors and rubber cement. And Kinko's did the typesetting. So I would go down to Kinko's and the photocopy place, and and type out the articles, and then cut them out with scissors, paste them on the flats, take them to the printer. And this is then they'd go to press, okay. But before that happened, all the articles had to be in, and everything had to be, It's a lot of juggling. It's project management. Right?
I am. I'm also. You've got a great smile upon you right now. I'm watching the smile upon you while you're describing this. Is when you're looking back at this right now and the efforts that it took to go ahead and put this all together. Is this a romantic thought to you? Or do you look back on this and because I'm seeing the smile, so are you smiling because you're thinking to yourself, oh shit, I can't believe I did all that stuff? Or are you smiling because you're like, man, that was crazy and I pulled it off?
I'm a both actually, both. I think it was when I decided to do it. You know, there's times in your life where you make decisions, right? Where you have to. Say, okay, either I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And so I decided to do it, and that was that. And so from that moment on, easily the best thing I've ever done in my life. The best.
Tribe.
Oh, without a doubt. The best decision.
Shit, that's amazing.
The best decision in my life. Like, and I've had opportunities to sell it a couple of times. Once a serious offer. Where I could have taken money and gone fishing, basically. But no. This is what I wanted, right? Like this, I wanted to be in the culture and to feel the culture and to talk about it and to get other people talking about it and to like, I kept thinking about, okay, the town that I DJ'd in, I had to fly to fucking Montreal to get records. I had to fly to New York to buy records to play in my club because I was that determined to play fucking killer sets in my club. Now, I knew there were kids in Saskatoon, in fucking buttfuck Alberta, who were there, who were DJs, who wanted to know what to play, what to order, what kind of equipment to get, how to throw a fucking party. And so basically, I wanted to give them a kit. My Tribe was the kit. If you got an issue of Tribe in buttfuck Alberta and you were a kid in your basement who wanted to be a DJ, you could, after reading Tribe, know what to do. You knew what the vibe was like at a good party. You knew some really good DJs who you could seek out music from and listen to hear what they were doing. You saw the pictures and you saw how people looked at parties and what they were wearing. It was like a kit, a party kit. And I made sure that towns across Canada got these and that the kids could see how to start their own scenes wherever they were, you know? They didn't have to be in Toronto or Montreal or New York or fucking wherever. They could start their own scene. And so that was the main purpose of Tribe. And as a broadcasting tool, basically, as a communications tool. And then for me, personally, I was in a career that I was doing good work, and I was advising my clients, okay, you can do anything you want. You can, go skydiving, make a big change in your life, jump out of the fucking plane, move to Algeria and take that flight attendant's job. I was giving all these profound fucking notices to people and advice. And then when it came to me, it was like, I want to start this magazine about DJ culture before I get too old to do it. And I was like 30 or whatever. And I was like, I have to do this because I'm telling my clients that they can go skydiving and they can seize the fucking opportunity. So I did it. That's what I did, right? It's like, fuck this. I'm going to do this. And if it fails, it'll fail. But I can always come back to being a counselor or a therapist or whatever. But I have to do this. And so I did it. And it was totally the best thing I've ever done in my whole life. Like, holy shit.
It was awesome. Did internet kill the printed star?
Yeah. But yeah. I think we were before the web. Tribe was a BBS. I don't know if you know that, but we were online even before the web. So
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, in 1993, I decided to take Tribe online. So built a BBS, and people with modems, people were dialing into my house to to get Tribe and talk. There weren't many, like a handful of people.
No, but still, there was. They were talking about the earliest of online communities was not big. I mean, ICQ was the explosion, I think.
Yeah.
Or,
No, this was even before that.
yeah, yes, that's
So
what.
it was
Yeah,
like text on screen, right?
Right.
Like green letters on a black screen kind
Right.
of thing, right? So we were there, and then online, when we were pre-web, and then when the web hit, I saw, this is where the future is going to be for publications. This is, I described to you how much shit had to go into cutting and pasting magazines and
Right.
schlepping newsprint, like tons of newsprint across the country. And like I could see, okay, the web, there's going to be, people will be able to sit at home and just like look at it, right, on their screens. And this is where it's going to be. So I got involved in the web very early, before Bell even had Bell Canada had their fucking websites. We were even before them. We were before Rogers. We were before Simpatico. All these companies were like early, right? Like,
so Tribe.ca was running at the same time as the print, like from the first issue.
oh
or?
yeah.
And did you feel the pressure, or did you feel the energy transfer from what was happening from the print moving online? Did you feel that people were migrating or flocking more?
During the early 90s, it wasn't happening, but I could see it was going to happen.
So you did see.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
But this is the reason why, well, like I was doing two things, right? I was doing online and print. But the print was where the money was coming from. There was no way to monetize online content in the early days of the web. There was no advertising model. There was no revenue generating model for websites. And that slowly happened over time. Google launched a product. They bought an advertising company called DoubleClick, and they launched an ad advertising product. And they used Tribe to beta test it in Canada. So we were one of their early beta test sites for ads that could generate on the fly based on content in a web page. So anyway, we were early with that too. But you asked whether there was a split between the online and the print. During the 90s, I ran them in parallel. And then towards the end of the 90s, I started taking content from the message board and printing it in the magazine, doing the opposite direction. Like stuff that they're doing now. If you pick up a magazine at a magazine stand, it's all Twitter posts. They're not even articles in it anymore. It's like, but we were doing this in 1997, right? I was experimenting with this. We were getting party reviews from Tribe board members and printing them. I was just cleaning them up a little for legibility, but it was in its entirety. So if some kid was at a party and he was talking about it, it's real. It's not some promotional fluff. This guy was there, talking about it, right? So that became really important, I think, too, for the magazine. But ultimately, the magazine it's about people. It's about the community. It's about the community of DJs and DJ culture and people who go to parties. And this is what Tribe is about. It's the community, right? For me, anyway.
Did you ever feel any of the politics of the dance floor?
All the time. Constantly. I mean, constantly.
Did they come? Did they come for you? Did they come for you in the night?
No. I mean, let me describe what it was like. Okay, in the 90s, when I first started Tribe, this was a pre-rave scene, before the rave scene. I launched into a warehouse party scene. So if you can imagine Toronto, Montreal, and in Vancouver, there were warehouse parties, house music. People would break into buildings and, set up a sound system, bring in some house music DJs. They play shit like Merc and like the nice deep heavy house stuff. And this was what was going on in Toronto, and this is what I launched Tribe into. There were certain DJ crews. There were 3 or 4 different DJ crews in Toronto at the time, and same in Montreal. But I can speak more clearly about Toronto. These DJ crews, they fucking hated each other. They, like, in the way that break dancers stick their chests out, like when they're like trying to show off.
The promoters hated each other. Or the DJs.
DJ crews.
The DJ crews hated each other.
Yes, they were their promoters. Generally speaking, in the 90s, there was like a promoter. There was a DJ crew, and the promoter would print the flyers and get the people to come to the party or whatever, and the DJ crew would play. But you'd have crews like Peter, Tyrone, and Shams. You'd have JMK. You'd have Mark and Aki. You'd have Dino and Terry. But to watch them, you'd never see those different crews in the same room together. Never. Like, never. They would never, like, in the rave scene, DJs would visit and listen to other DJs playing or hang out, behind the booth or whatever. But back in the 90s, no. This was like, these guys were like, I don't say it's hatred, but I would say I liken it to like, the break dancers who they push their chests out to like,
This was past the playful competitive nature.
Yeah.
You're saying that this was exacerbated.
Yeah, it kept the scene down, I think. It was like the difference between that and the rave scene was huge. Okay, the rave scene was more collaborative, and DJs would work together to like, we would play different gigs together, and like it was more, there was still politics, but it was more collaborative than the early house music scene. But as the rave scene grew, and as these house crews saw this, I remember like once Peter telling me, from Peter, Tyrone, and Champs, he had never played a rave before, and he got, I can't remember which one, but they hired him to play the house room in one of these raves. It was like 4,000 people in the room. He was like, holy fuck. He's like, I'm going to play more of these, right? He was like, these people were listening to house, they were dancing to fucking great house music.
Right.
But there were 4,000 people, and it wasn't like 200 people in a dark warehouse space.
Right.
This was a lot of people, and they were loving the music. Right. So I think that blew out the house music thing. But they were like Siamese fighting fish. You had to keep them separated. Like, but they're all very good DJs. Just amazing. There was a Friday night radio show on CKLN. That evolved out of Dave's dance music. It was the Fear At It show, and that was like the radio version of Tribe. So Sarah Bartok would be on there. That's someone you should talk to, Sarah Bartok. Okay. She's amazing. She would read out the announcements, the flyers, the house, describe what parties would happen that night and Saturday, and then Peter, Tyrone, and Shams. Kenny Glasgow, these guys would be spinning records in CKLN studios with like shit. The equipment would be so bad. Like
it works.
Yeah,
that's what you get. It turns to see the power button. It's illuminated. Yeah, you got it from here, Tiger.
20,000 watts coming out of the left channel, CKLN,
and it's a terrible saturated sound, but you can make out kind of what's happening. What is rave?
What is it?
What is rave?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it relates more to a state of mind. It's a state of mind of being receptive to new ideas and to meeting new people, and to it's a state of bringing something. Like, well, this is the difference between the EDM. I think the big parties and the commercial parties and the rave, a pure rave experience, is somebody goes to a rave with something to give away. They go to a rave with something to give, whether it's a sticker to put on somebody's forehead, whether it's like some hands to rub somebody's shoulders, whether it's an ear to listen to a friend. People went to raves bringing candy to give to people. They were giving. It's a giving thing. But on the huge commercial events, it's a taking experience. It's like you go, you want to get as much out of it for your $150 as you can. You're going to get fucked. You're gonna dance as much as you can. You're gonna sneak backstage and see if you can get a picture with Richie Houghton. You're gonna whatever. Like it's just not. It's not the same, right? It doesn't have that deep grounding interpersonal kind of connection that rave has. So I think rave is a state of mind.
How many times have you seen the rise and fall of dance music?
Oh, fuck. A lot.
What do you think brought on those waves?
Fuck. I remember when I first started DJing, I was playing in this club, and I can't remember what I was playing. Something that I had some R&B tracks or some old disco, and then I decided to drop in a Split Ends track, which is this kind of new wavy band from, I think they're even Canadian band, and all of a sudden I saw this one guy in the crowd jumping up, pogoing, wearing a skinny black tie and a black suit. These were like the new wave guys. There was a new wave scene that just like people had it, they dressed up with these skinny ties, they had little black suits and skinny pants, and they would dance, pogo dance. Like if you were DJing, people would be dancing, and then you'd see these fucking guys jumping up and down, like straight up and down out of the packed crowd. And this was new wave. There was a new wave scene. There were new wave clubs. There were new wave fashions, and then that went away. And then there was like disco, which was like amazing. And it's before it got commercial, before it got hated. I mean, it was fantastic. The music was great. It was big, grand, sugary. The women would dress up to like it was like runway fashion shows going to nightclubs. Like it was like insane what people dressed up. Men dressed up like it was crazy getting dressed up. And then the rave scene, different kind of dressing, still dressing up, still bringing it, to the party with homemade outfits and shit. It's like the scenes, I think it's all the same, Jello. I mean, it's all the same. It's something that connects deeply to us all. It's like a thread that connects us all. The name might change, whatever, but it's getting together and dancing to repetitive beats, to hearing the music, to hanging out with your friends. Like this is something that's gone on since fucking the Neanderthals were hanging out. I mean, God knows what they called their tracks, but they probably had a scene. I mean, who knows?
Once the party ended, people would take to the message boards to review the party. The party itself would have its own thread. People would discuss their favorite sets, what they did, who they saw, posting their own photos. Did you ever feel like the message board got out of control and that monitoring it, being a monitor for the message board was overwhelming?
Not overwhelming, just it's just too much, just too much to do. When you create online communities, you make rules, right? And you need them. You need them in order for the community to exist. Excuse me. And hold on. Want to try some of this?
Okay, I would like to try some of that, sure. How much does that grinder weigh? Is that because
This is a half pound of sterling silver.
Okay.
It's one of our Model 1 grinders. We make these special. I just made one for a guy in the States with a Bitcoin logo on the face of it.
Oh yeah.
Custom grinder. We sell these for $1,000 US.
Wow.
We make them in 10-karat gold, also, and the gold ones.
Yeah, it's really weighty. It's very heavy in my hand.
The gold ones are $10,000 US.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
You gotta really want to have a gold grinder.
Well, I mean, there are musicians, and there are people who, unlike you and I, who can afford $10,000 grinders.
Sure.
And that's why I started Tribe. It's
Connect with people who could afford $10,000.
Well, yeah, no, it's like, okay, say if some hip hop star wants a $10,000 gold grinder to impress his fellow hip hop stars,
Okay.
where is he going to get one?
I imagine you'd have to go to his jeweler and try and submit a design and have
Yeah.
right. Maybe give the jeweler a grinder that is made of like aluminum or steel and have that gold plated. I don't know. So what do I know? I'm in a basement. I bang beats around. People get elated by this. I mean,
You're close.
come to me for that advice. You know, I don't know. You know.
No, you're close.
It looks great.
You're close. It's like, okay, they don't even know where to go. But you have to design it. You have to make it, test it. It has to work. Like this is a grinder that this guy who buys this grinder is going to give this to his kid.
Right.
When his kid graduates college.
Yeah, I understand.
This is something that's going to be in the family.
It can be a generational piece.
Yeah, for
right.
a long time.
Right,
It's not going to go in the garbage.
No, it doesn't look or feel disposable.
But anyway, what was I talking about?
We were talking about the
message
message board,
okay.
and if you ever felt overwhelmed by it, because I'm asking you, and you said not overwhelmed, just that it was a lot. I know, for example, that I can't. Here, I'll talk about a thread that I guess, it stuck with me throughout all the years because I remember it because the thread was really split 50-50. I know that this thread is still on the board now. I opened for Jeff Mills at BOA, and for many people in the techno community, this wasn't right. And then it seemed like other people, like I said, the thread, it's split. People saying that was a good call and other people saying it was a bad call. And I'm referencing this thread because I know I'm in it and I'm aware of it. But there must have been there must have been many threads that you were observing yourself that you must have thought, people getting very angry at each other, and it was past slinging mud. And I think to myself, the very first interactions I can recall where I saw people getting angry at each other and saying mean shit was upon Tribe.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering, did it ever get to you?
It never got to me, but I did enforce rules, and I enforced them really hard. I came down really hard on a bunch of people and banned a whole bunch of people.
Were you monitoring it by yourself?
Yeah, totally.
And so you're doing the monitoring of the board by yourself. You're printing the magazine still. You're out taking photographs. You're the all-in-one machine to keep Tribe going.
Yes.
Did you ever bring anyone in for collaboration?
No, but I had, of course, people putting the articles together. We had correspondents in various cities.
Right.
Dan Rice did the web layout of the magazine for a number of years. He did an awesome, fucking terrific job at that when we did that. But the message board, like I'd run the message board since its inception, and I still do today. It's there now, and it's been live. It's the longest running online community in Canada. It's had a 99% uptime. It's been live for fucking since 1994 or whatever. Like,
I'm this is for me. This is heavy because I'm wondering. Obviously, all of this is via your opinion. When a user could be anonymous,
Yeah.
upon a message board,
Yes.
why would a user use social media?
What do you mean?
On Tribe, if I want, I can be Mr. 123.
No.
Have you changed it?
Well, yeah. First off, registration has been closed for a long time, so
You can't join the board anymore.
no, you can't. If
You're either in or you're out.
you're either a member from the past, and you can post because you're still a member, or I may open it up again. But I have more problems with Chinese spammers than people picking fights on Tribe. Basically,
I'm imagining some of those slings and arrows have slowed down over the course of time.
oh fuck yeah. No, there were definitely points in the Tribe, in the history of the Tribe board, where boards like books can be written about this, but there are board moderation is a fucking art and a science, and it's like it's crazy. It goes in wave-like forms where it can get really crazy for a while and then settle down and plateau out, and then it can get really crazy again. There are board splits where some members think they can do a better job and leave and start their own boards. This is what happens in message board administration and moderation. It's technical, but it doesn't only happen to Tribe. It happens to all message boards. And you asked, like, why would anyone want to be on social media?
Because you have to be your real name.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you can't start a Facebook account
like
right now
that's-
without a driver's license, for example, or a birth certificate, I believe.
wow, that's crazy.
True.
Yeah.
Right. They want to know that it's you.
And yet, who's responsible for all the Myanmars?
I mean, I'm
We're
not.
not.
But were you not? I mean, you must have an unbelievable amount of data.
Lots.
Right. It must dwarf some other pages. I mean,
Lots.
because I'm not even sure what was the peak
Well-
membership for Tribe on the message board.
I'm not sure, but even now, the
We're talking about excess of 10,000.
oh yeah, 14,000, 15,000 members, 14,000 something. But the database is huge too. The posts, there's millions
Right.
of posts there, millions. So all this is being indexed by Google and other search engines. The new search engines like Neva are the paid search engines are indexing us also. Because we've been online so long, we're essentially infrastructure. Search engine bots know us, right? They know us, so we've been around for a long time.
Do you own this information?
Yes.
So whatever has been posted on the message board is for you. I mean,
No.
it's yours.
It's the companies.
Tribe.
Yeah.
I know in the past you have put together galleries from the photos that you've shot at parties.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider doing like a hard copy collected book of like what you could consider to be Tribe's greatest posts?
People ask me about this all the time, and a lot, especially this year during the pandemic. A few friends of mine say, "Oh, why don't you post pictures on Facebook? Because you have all these pictures, right?" You know, I do. I have like 20,000 images
But
from
then they're Facebook's.
Yes, and I don't want Mark Zuckerberg, first off, to have the images.
Right.
But more importantly, and this is something I have to say, this is important. I want the context of the pictures to be associated with the pictures. So I want, if I shot this photo at a DOS party in 1998, that information I want tagged onto that photograph. So I don't want the photograph to appear somewhere else without that data. So you're saying, how is this doable? Well, it's doable if the photos wind up in a gallery like the National Gallery or in the Toronto Archives. A copy of each photo will have attribution, who shot it, me, what it is, ravers at the docks 1997 or whatever is described in the picture. So that's attribution and description and context. So that image now is somewhere safe that has context. Then I can release it out into the wild so people can see it. But if they want to know what it is, go to the Toronto whatever, and it'll be there. You'll be able to track it back and look at it. Because this is my life's work, right? I don't want our history, our culture to be siphoned off for Mark Zuckerberg's monetization and all the context gone from it. So I am really, really serious about these photographs. These are the most amazing pictures, and nobody has seen them, or we've seen them. We've seen them in Tribe magazine or whatever. But Canada generally is unaware of this whole culture that happened underneath them. And I want to preserve this for the future, for Canada, right? Like for the people in the future. So they'll be able to see this. Like we've experienced it. But I want people to be able to see it and maybe understand it a bit better. So that's why the photos aren't being put on the Facebook I Went Raving group or whatever. And I do some exhibits. I do some gallery exhibits of hard copies. And just before the pandemic, I was talking to Greg Hermanovic, my friend at Touch Designer, Side Effects Software, who does these amazing special effects for movies and shit. We were talking about projecting images on three-dimensional screens, like in the shape of people. We're going to do something really fucking amazing. And then the pandemic hit. So there'll be shows of exhibits of the photographs. And there are lots, and they're fucking amazing photographs. But I'm getting old. Like I say, I'm going to pass away eventually, and I want to make sure that these photos are preserved and that people will be able to look at them and do research and understand them and see, okay, this was a warehouse party on fucking Spadina Avenue in 1994. And this is DJ so-and-so playing. Like, this is what I want, right? And so this is what I'm going to do. And I think it's the best thing to preserve our culture for the future.
So I see your enthusiasm about it, and I love it. I'm wondering, I guess, was there a point that maybe that you felt that you maybe could have aligned with another entity and it may have taken Tribe in the direction that could have been greater than what it reached? Did Tribe escalate to the place that you were happiest with? It's two questions, but I guess somewhat the same.
Yeah. Around, I can't remember what year exactly. It was in the 90s. When Vice got bought out by this
Warner Group, I believe, wasn't it? Or?
No, it was before that. It was there was a company that bought them, and then they bought themselves back from them, and then they got bought by another company. Anyway, during this whole time, Bell Canada approached me, or Bell Media, or whatever. They were going to make an offer. And that could have taken it in a Vice direction, like big, right? But that's not what I wanted to do. And I don't want 1,000 staff. I don't want that, right? That's not who I am.
This is why you've protected the IP.
Fucking right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
It's heavy. Which promoters do you feel had the greatest impact upon the Toronto scene?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Here are the utility room. We get real, Alex. We get real.
Which, okay, see, I can go different directions here, Jello.
You should go the direction that you're having.
You're like, I want to get him to talk about Rave Promoters. No,
actually, that's not that. I'm not fishing.
Okay,
Genuinely
I know you're not.
Okay, I'm curious to know. I mean, like, it is a real question because it's a real question. I have an answer. I mean, I can give my opinions, and I've been fortunate enough to speak to some of them already, which is incredible, right? To know that, it's and what a strange time thing to bring this into that circle where I'm even yourself being on the dance floor and then in the week, leading up to the next party, getting excited, being able to reach for Tribe. These were really big moments for me.
Yes, fuck yes.
They were fucking big.
I know.
And so and the same like there was clearly some events that, and some that I missed out on. I'll always regret not going to the planetarium party that Transcendence did, and I can't remember the lineup that plays that was upon the flyer, but it was two parts. I believe it started at the planetarium and then it moved over to another event. Do you know what event I'm talking about right now? Yes. And I think to myself, this type of adventure that existed for rave and any name that it could be has transformed. And you've mentioned you were talking about the transformation earlier on, and I'm not sure if that type of enthusiasm is still there. I mean, there's excitement to party.
Yeah.
Okay, wicked. Excitement to see dope lights, LED screens. Cool.
Yeah.
Wicked. I'm going to see all the music I want to hear. That's great.
Yeah.
But is the adventure minimized?
Yeah.
By removing this, I mean, I'm not quite sure how to look at a group of people, 1,000, 2,000 people, and be like, hey, everyone, we're still cool, right? Party's over. We're leaving this place. And now we're going over to this spot, and we're gonna pick it right up. But at the same time, it's going to be new and different. It's not what you did here. It's going to be something different over there.
Yeah.
So that's why I've asked you the question. I'm being genuine. It's not. I'm not. In fact, I'm not curious about who you think failed. So
no.
So
I know.
All right.
I always say what I think anyway. I mean, I never hold back anything.
Cheers.
But I think two promoters I'll mention. Michael Holtzman, definitely for the house stuff, and for the start of Tribe magazine. He did our launch party at the Cat Club. He was responsible for keeping the Oz. I mean, there was a whole team of people at Oz that did Oz, but he was a promoter that worked out of Oz and doing shit at Oz. And I remember he did a fashion show once at Oz that just blew my mind. It was like, he comes over to me. He says, Alex, I'm doing this fucking fashion show. This is going to be just awesome. He rolls out a clothing rack onto the stage, and he puts clothes on it, and everyone's fucking in the club is milling around waiting for the show to start, and the models come out stark naked and start putting clothes on. So he dresses them on stage. He'd like they don't dress backstage and come out in the outfits. He's having them put the fucking clothes on in Oz, like stripped off naked, putting these clothes on. I think he just turned the whole thing around, and it was like, this is fucking smart, right? This guy thinks about things differently. He has a different way of thinking about things, right? And then, oh God, the house parties that he used to throw. This guy, so just about to fly into orbit, just gravity was just barely holding, at any moment he could fucking just disappear into space. He was on such a thin tether of the creativity, and this guy was so much that you could tell it was I don't know. It was too much for him, right? But he was hilarious. Going partying with this guy, or running across him at a rave, or oh God, Michael, I just love him. He was the first gossip columnist for Tribe. He was also a promoter, but he was the first gossip columnist for Tribe. I asked somebody, I said, who should I get to write a fucking gossip column? And Michael Holtzman. Because he knows fucking everybody, and like he's funny. So a couple of hours before press time on the first issue, it's like, I'm like, Michael, where's your column? I want your fucking column. Like, you said you'd write the column. Where is it? I want it. I'm like, help. I need the column. He said, I'll get it to you right away. He shows up with cocktail napkins, like 7 or 8 cocktail napkins with pen scribbles on it. This in crumpled up. This was his article. I used to get his article every month, like on bar coasters. Like, I'd have like 12 bar coasters that I have to sort out into a store.
You got like a Hunter Thompson scenario.
It was
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
But it was so funny. Like, it just the hell of a good promoter. And as for Rave Promoters, the Atlantis crew, Don Burns, these guys, like,
Claudio, James.
Yeah, like they brought professionalism into it, and I think they taught a lot of the other promoters by example of professionalism. Like, okay, you can get the CN Tower for a rave, or yes, you can get the Ontario Science Centre or the Toronto Island Airport for rave, if you go about it the right way.
They were location heroes.
Oh, big time.
DJ Ian was with them as well.
No, big time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and all good. Like Don, I have a story about Don. Like, it's an amazing story. But like,
what's the amazing story about Don?
No, I'll tell you in a second. But like, these guys, their whole goal was to create an environment at us. They used location, but in that they created an environment that was like fucking great, right? Like to party in. So they would be, they were the guys, I think, that Dose looked at and saw, okay, this is what can be done. So, and then they took it to the next thing, right? Like the bigger companies were the second generation companies saw this, and yeah, like, so those two people, Michael Holtzman for the house parties, and definitely Atlantis.
Is there something to be said that maybe Atlantis spoiled some of these super awesome locations, because after they went to the venues, it's like there weren't parties at those places anymore. So like,
well, they did get another one at the airport. What Better Days did one at the airport after, but no, that CN Tower party was like
amazing.
I don't know. I mean, for me, it was people were going up and down the elevator. That's all it was. Like you'd.
I mean, come on, Alex. Like you know what I mean? Like, if you're having a good time, you got that glass floor.
Well, it was okay, but it was cloudy. You couldn't see out. The elevators were like you'd go downstairs because you thought it was cool, and then you get bored, so you will get the elevator and you go upstairs because you thought it was cooler up at the top.
Right.
And then it wasn't, so you went downstairs. So all the elevators it was constantly people going up and down the elevators, and then I thought, maybe I'll see the revolving thing revolve. Like, no, like I didn't see anything revolve. I was like taking pictures and whatever, but it wasn't the best place for a party. But I'm glad they did it. Like that was like an achievement.
Do you have one photograph that stands out amongst all the photographs that you've shot at the raves that you shot?
Oh God, no! I got thousands that stand out.
There wasn't one moment for you that's really earmarked in your brain. No,
I've got thousands of moments. Thousands.
Have you cataloged them like some type of Dewey Decimal System in your mind, where it's like?
No, but one of the other reasons I took Tribe into this new direction is to finance the scanning and the preparation of all these photographs from film and transparency at the super highest resolution possible, and archive storage for the future. So that's.
Is this archive intended to be free and accessible to all, or
it'll be, yeah.
And this is a project that you're working on.
Yes, and it's a big project.
It sounds, yeah, no, it sounds,
life, right?
yeah, it sounds massive.
It's a big project, But these are photos that are, this is my life's work, right? And this is a moment in time that no one else has, right? It's captured. It's like these photos, if you see old National Geographics, like where these tribes in fucking New Guinea with wearing these like mud outfits or whatever that don't exist anymore, that's us. And I've got these photos. They're fucking amazing. You should see what people look like on Saturday morning, like after the Friday night at the 3-day. Like,
do you have an opinion about, I guess, the gentrification of Toronto, the changes it's gone through, it's going through? Do you know what Toronto needs to become the party city that it was?
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if it's doable anymore. Our politicians have fucked everything up, and they're making it worse. Like our mayor, like our city councilors, sending police to beat homeless women in parks. Can you? Like, I never thought I'd see this, and now something is happening. Another reason I want to prepare all this stuff and get it into the National Gallery is all these photos, is that the government of Canada is cracking down on the internet in a huge way. They tried a couple times, the current government, to control speech, online speech. And now an election's been called, that's been stopped, but they're going to try again. And the bills that they're introducing are like frightening, like online speech control, site takedown orders, this kind of stuff, right? So as somebody who operates an online community, I mean, this is something that's terrifying for us, is that they'll be able to issue 24-hour takedown orders for sites, if a government doesn't like what's there. So one of for me, it's like a race against time trying to get all this stuff done and safe before the government just shuts down the internet in Canada. I mean, or limits the availability of certain sites, or they're not going to shut it down, but they're going to throttle certain content. Right?
In the future, we're passing around USB keys to each other that's got all the data we want, so that we can bypass the system.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Here, man. I got the key you need. Check it out. Got some sets. Got some movies. Got some fucking tribe pictures. You're gonna fucking love it. Shh. Don't tell anyone about this key, man. Tell no one.
No, the politics has to change in order for this to be a party city again. I mean, you see what they did in London, in England, right? With their rave laws, they fucking came down hard there. They came down hard here. They're not going to lift it up. If this pandemic has taught the politicians anything, is that they love to use the force to achieve their goals. They're not reluctant to do that, and I don't know what's going to happen. And with the pandemic, it's going to be hard. Like, are you traveling? Are you playing gigs or doing anything?
I've been doing some shows. It's pretty wild. I had to and I had to get tested twice to come back to Canada, to get tested to show Border Patrol upon entry that I had negative results, and then as soon as I went through, they rapid tested me again, which I just got the results actually earlier. Yes, I think I got it yesterday. Yeah, I got it yesterday. It's a fucking process. I mean, and this whole new industry has been birthed from this. Like, I got this, the Border Patrol, after they were like, okay, welcome back to Canada, give me back my passport. With my passport is this kit. Type of kit, same type of size an airline would give you, with a small charcuterie style snack hobby kit. And inside the kit, it's got,
a swab.
It's got a swab. It's got a vial with with some type of solution that I guess keeps whatever the swab is collected intact. It comes with a sealable bag that you put it into. And I had to, because I came back via a car on the Rainbow Bridge. And as soon as you go through the border, you have to pull right over, like 2 feet. They've got a lane. They've built this laneway now, and they've got the Red Cross there under their employ to administer the whole time. And someone's watching you every step of the way. And I'm looking at all of this, and I'm wondering. I'm looking at this box that's got its wax style glossy finish upon it, and all the collected materials inside. And I'm looking at it, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'd like to consider myself aware of the nuances between competing industries, and it certainly feels like we're always caught in the crossfire, people. Yeah. And when that happens, of course, this is where the conspiracies are birthed from, and this is, of course, my opinion.
Yes.
I'm looking at a crazy amount of industry that has been made from this pandemic, and I'm wondering, as terrible as this may sound, did we need that? Did people need this new industry as times are changing and industries are evaporating from what we knew? Industries that seemed like they were cement are proving they are not.
Yeah.
Careers and positions that were necessary are no longer in that place anymore. But now all of a sudden there's a pandemic, and we need new nurses, and we need new doctors, we need new manufacturers for these fucking hobby kits that have got tests in them. And we need to get the Red Cross and make sure that they don't have enough people at the Red Cross. Well, guess what? Let's hire some more. And so I'm looking at all this, and that's I mean, I'm not talking about a conspiracy. This has actually fucking happened.
Yeah.
Right. And it's happening.
Yeah.
So
right now.
so that's what I'm seeing, and that's where my brain was at.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why I just went into that, but yeah, I have been touring.
It's like science fiction.
Well, I mean, we're this is the stand.
Yeah.
This is the stand. You know, and Dr. Fauci is the old lady in the cornfield.
Yeah.
I can't remember her character name right now. Anyways, yeah, I did some shows. Both were very fun. I did an after party for closing of Calgary Stampede for Boudin, and that was absolutely amazing. Really great time. Happy that I did it, and a little wild not being able to be out in front of people for a break I didn't ask for. I'm not saying anyone did, you know, but I'm talking about me. Yeah. You know, I didn't ask for the break. I don't know if I wanted it, but I think I'm happy about it when I'm looking back on, like I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been doing this.
Yeah.
Had that.
I mean,
had that
I
not
think the
happened.
pandemic has changed a lot of people, and it's we're going to see changes. A lot of shit is happening with people. I see it in my friends. A lot of people are doing deep searches inside about what they want to do with the rest of their lives. I mean, they're realizing this now.
That's right. We don't get to pick our ending.
Yeah. So that's a lot of what I've been doing. I mean, I've decided what to do, and so I'm doing it, and that's that. Like,
it's very exciting. Has accessibility to music changed how we feel about it?
Yes.
How?
There's too much. There's too much music. For me, there's too much music. I mean,
was that a benefit to having gatekeepers, which obviously talking about a position that no longer really exists?
Yeah.
I mean, it does to, I guess, a degree on the big apps, you know, but it's not like it was before with the label vetting and then the artist vetting and the management vetting and
but as a DJ, when I think of my early DJ life, I didn't consider any of that shit. None of that mattered to me. It was just the record. Is it a good record? Will it fucking light the floor up when I play it? What will it go with? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind of vocals I like? Are the vocals the kind shall I extend myself a little and play something really fucking weird? This is what I thought about as a DJ. And the other shit didn't matter to me. Like, I was flying to Montreal to buy records because in the town I was in, there weren't none. And I'd fly in, I'd go to Pierre Musique or wherever the shop was open, and I'd fucking go through and I'd pick out the best records. I'd look at all the charts from the gay dance clubs. They'd put out print charts every week, the good DJs would, as to what they were playing. And I'd buy all that. And then I'd take that back. And then I'd practice until I could work it nicely for 8 or 9 hours a night on a Friday or Saturday. And that was what it was about for me. And when I was playing and looking at my record bins, I didn't want 40,000 records. I wanted 300 records, 150 records, 100, but all fucking good records and all ones that I picked out and bought myself after some searching in various record stores around North America. So that's what it was about to me. Now, if you added into my booth another 100,000 records in crates, that wouldn't have made my DJ set any better. It would have made it worse, actually, I think, because I'd never be able to get to the turntables for all the fucking records in front of my face. So I think a lot of it's reducing options and editing, just weeding out the shit until you get to the 150 records. Now there's so much music, it's harder to do that, right? I guess. I don't know. I don't DJ anymore. Is it? Like to pick out the tracks that you can make your own? Or do you think of it like that? Or do you say, oh, I've got an endless ocean of records I can pull out for this set on Saturday night? What should I, how do you play? That's what I want to know. I'm like,
It's transformed. So I think that if we time machine everything, especially right up to 2015, I was still playing a lot of music that was made by other people. And when I was strictly using vinyl, which was during a time when music wasn't accessible, especially the tracks that I was picking, I did enjoy some of what would be considered to be the popular rave dance floor tracks. But I think, and obviously it's a self-serving opinion, I think I became known for having stuff that was gonna be big and that not a lot of people had. And earlier with records, something would get released, would have 300, 500, 1,000 presses to it. But if those presses sold out right away, that would make enough noise to one of the bigger dance music labels or rave or techno house, a press label.
yes.
And they would say, well, let's license that, or let's buy that, or what can we do to release it? And then of course they'd be able to press 20,000, 50,000 copies,
Okay.
and that would have a greater explosion. I was finding these records that were low pressed. I was really keen to follow specific artists that were from some regions that I've talked about this on the show before. Like, what's in the water over there? What's going on?
Yep.
You know, right now for me, I think that's Russia.
Okay.
I had a crazy vetting process when I was buying records, Alex. You know, anyone that ever worked at a record store that watched me go through records, you know, it was almost like, oh, fuck, here comes Jello. You know, it'd be like, you know, make sure that booth is clear for the next 90 fucking minutes. He's you know, for sure. He's going to be in there and flipping through tracks. And I'd get frustrated like someone else flip through, you know, 30 things that I'd pick. None of this is fucking for me. Back to the wall, into the bins. My fingertips would absolutely have all kinds of paper cut creases upon them. And then the worst part about those paper cut creases, which I've been trying to get someone to talk to me about, and there's no way that I'm the outlier here in these paper cut creases in the tips of my fingers, is that when they'd start to heal, they'd get dry, and just that point where they'd start to get dry, you're back into the flip
You
again.
open them up.
It's right open again. So it's just
Bleeding
it's
fingers.
constantly sore, and you don't look very healthy when you see something. You go to a family function and you go to shake your uncle's hand.
Bleeding hands. Yeah.
Be like, hey, uncle,
It's the drugs.
good to
He's
see
on
you.
the drugs.
Be like, he's been raving really hard over there. Whoa, that rave. So, but it's changed. It's changed for me now, especially where I want to say 20% of my set, if I'm using some type of dilapidated, made up math, that is music from other people, and that the predominance of my set is stuff.
It's your stuff. Okay.
That's right. Because I believe the idea has changed. Because accessibility has changed the idea, and that's what I was talking about.
I would have killed for that in my time as a DJ.
Right.
I was thinking back then, all we had was vinyl and a mixer, basically. Right? And booth monitors.
But
and
the idea...
Then we had a reel-to-reel sometimes that I could work. I'd work a reel-to-reel and do edits with razor blades and tape and do interesting stuff. But it was such a nightmare, to do. But now you have all this.
The software certainly makes the idea of it a lot simpler, but just because the idea of the construction, the engineering of it is easier, doesn't guarantee that the output's going to be.
Yeah, I understand.
Is going to be awesome. I've made a bunch of turkeys.
Yeah.
But I'm always trying. I still get really excited about new music when I hear it from someone else.
Yeah.
And equally, if I'm doing something and fucking around, making something and it turns out to be or I'm out of my seat.
Yeah.
And I'm moving and I look up in the mirror and be like, holy shit, I'm actually out of my seat. I'm fucking like, this is it. And
that's why you're a great DJ. And that's why. And no. When I first met you, you were so fucking intense. Holy fuck! You were wanted to eat everything up. You leaned fucking into everything. You were like, I want this. I want it all. You were like, I've got pictures of you with this expression on your face. Your eyes are Roger Sanchez has the same expression. I have pictures of him where he's it's almost like your eyes are wide open staring, and yet you're in the middle of a mix doing something. It's just so intense, so fucking intense. But this is what made you, right? And I'm glad to see you still have this energy. I'm happy. I'm happy to see this. This is good.
I think because I would be able to find some of these records that I knew that were low pressings. The other DJs didn't have this music, so and I'm not trying to sound terrible, but it's possible to be not great technically as a DJ, but if you've got the tracks and you know how to put them down in the order that would make good sense to tell somewhat of a story, even if the mixes aren't great, you can do it because the dance floor will adore the great music that they wouldn't have access.
That was me. No DJ skill, excellent records.
There you go. There you go. So there we are. The success is possible. So when that happens because people would leave the party, and the music was conversation. You maybe if you were to turn on the radio, you'd have to turn it on at the witching hour on a Thursday night to capture some of the sounds that you heard.
Yeah.
Maybe your friend had a mixtape, but the right channel was much louder than the left. But you did what you could on the balance of the ghetto blaster so that you can try and get the best output of the sound. We did whatever we could to get this music into us. Now, when it's dialed up upon my fingertips instantly, and I'm not dissing it at the same time. I'm curious, but what I'm saying it is, I'm quicker. I'm talking about myself now. I'm wondering what that means for someone that might not have the same intensity you just described.
Yeah.
And I'm not referencing you. I'm just talking out loud.
No.
Generally, yeah.
But having that much choice,
I can hit pause. I can walk away from it for a sec. It felt like there was a greater sense of urgency to capture what was happening in that moment.
Yes.
And now the moments have transformed, where I can pause my moment
Yes.
and then maybe start it back up again.
Yes.
But the magic's never the same.
Yeah.
That's, to stop and smell the flowers.
Yeah.
Something I fucking sucked at doing.
Yeah.
This is equally important as music.
Yeah.
Bands that went out of their way to have theme albums. Genesis, The Lamb Lays Down on Broadway.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Yeah.
Beatles' White Album. And there's more, to bring it more modern. Jay-Z's Black Album. There were moments. I think Travis Scott did this recently with his last album. But I'm finding that there's these singular instances. And because of the accessibility, I'm constantly curious about this and how other people feel. That's why I asked you. One more question for you, Alex.
All right.
It's the toughest one of the show.
Okay.
You've got 3 records. 3 records that you know and that you love.
Okay.
They're records that either rescue your dance floor in time of need.
Yep.
Or everything's going great, but you're going to lay them down because you know they're going to do the business. What are these 3 records for you?
Oh, God. Jesus. That's a hard question. Okay, can I'm not sure if I'll get the band names right. I'd like to name some 12 inches, but let me see. Now, I'm finding lately that I've been listening to music that I used to play when I was DJing. So I'll go back to those records. Disintegration by The Cure. The whole album. It's my favorite album. And I'd say that. Anything by Alison Moyet, because I love her voice. She was in this band called Yaz, The Situation. Yeah, she does the vocals for that. Her voice is amazing. I saw her at the Phoenix singing her own material once. Oh my God. Like, I still, just talking about it now, I'm getting goosebumps. Voice. Amazing voice. And then James Brown. Anything by James Brown, because James Brown is the guy who got me into music.
Can you elaborate? Or
How much time do you have?
I mean, it's a podcast, so we could be here all night.
I saw James Brown. I was 13 years old. I was living in Africa. My dad was a diplomat, and I was living in this country called Zaire, which is now called the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Kinshasa. And this was in 1974. I was just a little kid, and I think at 13 or 14 or something like that. I go into an American school. Had 100 students, 120 students, all kids of diplomats and missionaries, whatever. My parents lived in the next country, so I was staying in a boarding house, and going to this school, American school. And my geology teacher and biology teacher, these hippies from the States who were teaching at the school, like the only people who would teach in the Congo or in Zaire, American teachers, were basically hippies who wanted to avoid the draft at the time, right? So, because the Vietnam War was on the go and it was ending. But these guys were brilliant and they wanted to escape the draft. So they went teaching in these foreign countries at American schools. And I had these 2 fucking hippie teachers. They said, hey, James Brown is coming to town for the Muhammad Ali George Foreman fight.
Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, and there's a 2-day concert. And the first day is all like the best U.S. acts, black acts, soul singers. And then the second day was all like African, from different African countries, musicians. The president of the country, Mobutu, was this crazy dictator, like billionaire, just a fucking maniac. He wanted to make sure Zaire was world renowned, was respected in the world. So he got the George Foreman Ali fight to happen in Kinshasa. And they did this 2-day concert, Zaire 74, that they were going to do at the stadium to bring more attention to the arts and culture of the country. So James Brown was the headliner in this, but there were other artists. And James, you have to understand who James Brown is in Africa. James Brown is a god. Like, I remember talking to the security guard at my boarding school, and I told him, James Brown is coming to Kinshasa to sing at the stadium, and he nearly fainted. He was like, James Brown. He was like, James Brown. He was like fucking, he couldn't believe it. So I'm like, wow, this guy is like something else. Like I really didn't know much about James Brown. I used to listen to like Pink Floyd and shit, right? Rock. Anyway, so these two high school teachers, they said, hey, we got tickets to this thing. This friend at the Peace Corps got a spare ticket. You want to go? And we can take you. We're going, and nobody wants this other ticket. So they took me to the stadium for this Zaire 74 concert. And this was like nosebleed seats. This concrete stadium, 40,000 screaming Africans. Their God is going to play. Like, it was, the crowd noise alone was like insane. Anyway, so sitting up at these nosebleed seats, these long-haired fucking hippie teachers, the one guy opens up a foil packet, passes it to me and says, you want some orange cake? And I said, sure. And I took a big fucking handful and ate it. And he said, oh, there's dope in it. I'm like 14. These are my high school teachers, right? So I didn't know anything about dope or any it was weed in the cake, right?
But soon he found out.
Soon I found out. So the concert started and all the warm-up acts were happening, and the fucking orange cake hit me. Boom. I was like, holy fuck. I was just so high. I turned to the teachers. I said, look, I'm going to walk around a bit. Are you going to stay there? Because I want to know where to come back. And they said, yeah, we're going to be here. So I started wandering around, high as a fucking kite, in this stadium with 40,000 screaming Africans. I was this little white kid, right? And I walked down towards the stage, and they were filming this concert. They had these video cameras. Back then, these video cameras were the size of fridges, right? They were that big. That's the technology of the day. And there was this guy behind the TV camera in one corner. And I walked up to him and started talking to him and saying, hey, how you doing? Whatever. And they thought I was part of the act, the crew, right? Because I was a white kid amongst all these blacks in the whole
Where is
state.
this going?
I fucking was talking to this camera crew. I went backstage. I was wandering downstairs, and the backup singers for James Brown were there. Child, what are you doing, child? Like, they were like, what are you doing backstage? Where's your mama? You know, saying all this shit to me. And I'm like, fuck. I was looking around and all of a sudden, high as a fucking kite, backstage. And I wandered back out again, back to where the guy was with the TV camera. I felt safe next to him. So this is right at the fucking front of the stage. And James Brown comes out and does his set. And the fucking crowd loses it. Like, this is their God, right? And I could feel the sweat coming off his face. I was that close to him. And he was doing splits with a mic stand in this fucking... I to this day, I like it. Yeah. It's fresh. It's still fresh, right? So, like, this was like 50 years ago.
And this is like your first concert experience, like
Ever.
total.
Ever.
What an introduction.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, like you did. It's like, how did you do it? Be like, well, AAA, all the way.
So this was my James Brown experience.
Wow.
And the next day, I was like, I started listening to more R&B the next day, the very next day, and since then, to be honest, I've never been able to enjoy a concert. Like, nothing comes close. Nothing. And it's the same way with music. Like, I like listening to the the recording and not so much the live act of the music. I think it's ruined me for a lot of stuff. But on the other hand, it's made me appreciate it. It set the trajectory of my life, right? Like, I know this was the moment that set my trajectory. And now with this new direction I'm going, it loops back. It's like not an afterglow, a foreglow, foreglow. Those moments in your life that happen to you again later in life that are magic, right? That loop back. It's amazing shit. You'll see as you get older like me, you'll see these things that happen.
Well, if you want to talk about a strange circle, I mean, you were the one that was doing the chronicalizing of the rave scene. and
now it's you.
I didn't see that coming. Hey,
I'm happy. I'm happy you're doing it. I'd like to thank you for doing this. I mean, it's good for the community.
I'm loving it. One of the best things about it was that at a time where I was, I wasn't ever really alone during this time. I have a family.
Yes.
But I wasn't staying connected the same way that I was familiar with.
Yes.
Being out, in and out of airports, traveling, hotels, meeting new promoters or DJs, people on the dance floor, sharing music face to face. The good, the bad, the funky.
Yes.
All of it was gone. But with the show, even though it wasn't face to face in real life, it was still being able to stay connected with everybody. And I think it was, one of the fun things for me, and I'm hopeful it was for the guests as well, is that, during a time when everything, I guess, kind of really sucked, we were able to get together for a couple hours, shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Talk about these adventures.
Yeah, yeah.
Which have been, super wild. I mean, I could probably ask you easily another 20 questions about some stuff, because I know that you've obviously seen a bunch of shit, right?
Yes.
But I think that if you were into it, we could do this again down the road when you've got this project that you've been working on a little more realized.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to, say one thing, though, is that Tribe wouldn't have been possible without a lot of people, like a lot of people. I'd really like to, if we do this again, to read out all their names, because there's a long list. And, the people the photographers, the columnists, the web fixing people, the server administrators, there are a lot of people that made Tribe happen. I mean, and these are the people that I'd love to thank for making it a reality. So next time I want to read their names out across your podcast.
I'm into it. We can find you where online right now? I mean, I obviously know the URL, but I don't want to say it. It sounds greater if it comes from your mouth.
The message board is still there, and if you're a member, you can post. It's tribemagazine.com. It's Tribe Magazine online. It's an actual magazine online. And for my stuff that I'm doing now, this absolutely insane cannabis jewelry and accessories that we're doing. Oh, Jello, I want to show you. We're doing DJ shit, stuff for DJs.
Okay, what are you doing for DJs?
You see this platter? This is a platter from my 1200.
Sure.
I'm cutting it up and casting it in silver and making rings and jewelry pieces out of it for DJs. Let me show you a prototype. This is my 1200. This is rough. It hasn't been polished. So the base will be black like this. I'm going to patinate the lower end black. But can you imagine working a turntable with this big fucking thing on your finger? Like,
I mean,
you're not a jewelry ring wearer.
I'm not really a ring wearer, but I'll say this, is that I'm not a turntable user. I haven't touched decks in a really long time. Everything happens off of this bad boy right here, actually.
Okay, well, I'll have to make a small computer.
There you go.
Out of silver. Or gold. A small gold computer for you.
Novation Launchpad made of gold.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going. If you want to see our cannabis jewelry stuff, go to tribe.ca. If you want to see some pictures of the rave scene, that I'm not putting a lot out there, but I'm putting some content. It's photographs, audio content. I dropped several gigabytes of Kevin Williams DJ tapes. There's stuff from the early days of Tribe. You can find that at tribe.ca/legacy. Legacy. Because it's our legacy. And if the pandemic ever ends, we're going to do some parties that will promote our cannabis jewelry with DJs. Seriously wicked parties like we used to do in the early days of Tribe, but to promote the new direction. So that's something to keep in mind for the future.
I'm here when you call me Alex. My name is Jello. With me by my side has been the ever amazing Alex D from Tribe Magazine. We truly appreciate you being with us. Make sure that you like, comment, share, do all the things that make the room go boom. And we will see you next week right here in the utility room.